Hello everybody, this is Dan Miller for Bluegrass Unlimited magazine, and today we're going to continue our look at cross-picking and harmonized scales on the mandolin. And last week we did something about explaining what these things were. We showed some different cross-picking patterns, and I showed a harmonized scale in the key of D. Today we're just going to give some examples, okay? One of the things that I alluded to in the cross-picking but maybe didn't demonstrate was the fact that when you're combining the cross-picking technique with a toggle, for instance, we talked about going 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 1 to even up that cross-picking roll. You could do it that way too, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2. You can also start out with the toggle, so you don't have to do your roll, then the toggle. You can start out with a toggle by going like that. And again, the idea is ending up with the cross-picking technique, but evening it up so it's 8/8 notes in a measure, so it evens up with a measure. And again, like I explained last time, the reason you do that is to fit your melody and or your chord progression, fit the roll to what you're trying to do there. And like as an example, the other thing you could do before the example is not do the toggle, but just do a quarter note, right? Like that. So we're going roll, roll, quarter note, and then you can pick it up again after you change the chord or after you hit a melody note. And sometimes you can combine those things, and it's all about fitting in the melody or fitting in the chord progression while doing the cross-picking roll. So if we go to our tune that we were working on before, When the Saints Go Marching In, that first part of it, I could go so in order to fit that melody in, I'm walking up as my lead in, and then I'm starting my roll with the toggle. And then I'm going into my 3-note pattern, and then I'm ending it with a quarter note where the melody should be. Okay? And then you could see what I did there was the first 2 parts I did a alternating roll. Okay? And then when I got to the next part, because it fit my melody better, I went to the 4-note roll. So like that. And when I go to that A chord, next part, I might go into the McReynolds roll. Like that, right? So I could just right in that much of the song, I started out with the alternating roll. Right? And then I moved into the 4-note roll. And then I could go into McReynolds roll. Like that. I'll go into my alternating roll again. And then my G chord, I might go into the McReynolds roll again. So the whole thing would be something like So that's a way you can mix up these cross pick and rolls around a melody and fit the chords and the melody in there. Of course, you can mix it up differently than I just did there. You could stay with the same roll if that's comfortable for you. You could just, what you need to do is figure out where you need to place the toggle, or maybe a placed quarter note or something like that. But that's just an example of how you might take a song and use your cross-picking technique, okay? And then again, like all the other techniques that we've talked about, it might not be, you might not want to stick with the cross-picking the whole way through. You might do a little bit of cross-picking somewhere where you feel it sounds best, and then go to some of your other techniques like your double stops or your neighboring notes or any of those kind of things at other places in the tune. So again, experiment, mix it up, do a whole cross-picking thing and say, well, I think the McReynolds roll works best here, I think the 3-note roll works best here, I think the 4-note roll works best over here, or maybe during a certain section of the song, cross-picking doesn't work as well as one of your other techniques. Anyway, that's for you to look at and experiment with, okay? Now, let's take a look at harmonized scales again. Last time we did the harmonized scale in D, which was here. You could do the same thing in G by moving it just over. Okay, so you can move this thing around a little bit. I showed an example of how we used a harmonized scale on the B part of Whisky Before Breakfast last time, and of course I used this pattern, which was just a toggle pattern. Like that. You could instead use a cross-picking roll in the same place. Like that. And you could, let's move that to G and show you how you could use that harmonized scale on a tune like Blackberry Blossom. So let's say I started out my Blackberry Blossom like I might normally would with these folded scales. Now, I repeat that part, but I go to my harmonized scale with cross-picking. Okay? So altogether it would be something like that. Okay? So that's a cool way that you could do it. Last week we talked about also moving from one place on the neck to another place in the neck using the harmonized scale. And the pattern I've been using for Whisky Before Breakfast and for Blackberry Blossom was this, or, so it's kind of a 3-note. I could do 2 notes too, walking down the scale going like that, right? So let's say we're taking the A part to Whisky Before Breakfast. And the first time through, we do something like here. So that's the first time through. I got that open A note ringing, and then I move up here. And then right there, I want to move back down. I use that harmonized scale like this. Okay, so again. Okay, so there you have it. You have an example of how to put some cross-picking rolls together over When the Saints Go Marching In, this tune we've been working on, creating variations from the melody. And then you have an idea of how to use some harmonized scales combined with the cross-picking roll in the A part to Blackberry Blossom, And then also, last time we showed how to use it to the B part of Whiskey Before Breakfast, and this time a little movement from up the neck to down the neck using harmonized scale in the A part to Whiskey Before Breakfast. And of course, you might not want to use it in both parts. Again, use the harmonized scale thing kind of sparingly, because it can get to be too much. Like any technique, it can get to be too much if you do it too much. So, but again, my philosophy is use it a lot. Use any technique a lot. Use one technique throughout the entire solo as much as you can until you get accustomed to that technique, and then figure out ways to integrate all the techniques that you know to make a tasteful solo. And again, if you try to throw too many techniques in there, it may not sound good either. What you want to do is have that melody always be present, and figure out what techniques to put in between the melody notes to support the melody in the most tasteful way. All right, this is Dan Miller from Bluegrass Unlimited magazine, and we'll see you next time.